The Nagasaki Hata fighting kite was created when the Dutch first came to Japan in the 1600s. These kites are made in several sizes for the different flying conditions, and there are over 250 patterns. The kites are made of bamboo spines and spars, hemp twine, and dyed paper. Mr. Tatsuki Kawata was very kind, inviting us to his studio, where he gave us a hands-on lesson in the making of a traditional Hata kite. Mr. Kawata retired from city government and has been making kites since 1994, when he built a kite studio next to his home. In the center of the studio, he has a table with a rotating top. The entire tabletop surface is a cutting mat. The spars and spines are shaped from bamboo using a sharp cutting knife. The spar is shaped so that it bends evenly and symmetrically. Unlike the technique used in making other Japanese kites by pulling the bamboo over the knife, the Hata kite spars and spines are shaped by pushing the knife over the wood. Mr. Kawata cuts the top end of the spine and using a small flame curls the end back so the top of the kite has a convenient hanger built into it. The length of the spine is determined by the size of the Hata to be made. There are set sizes and a special measuring board is used to mark the length of the spine to be used for each kite. Once the spine is measured against the measuring board, a mark is made for the spar notch. The spine is cut to create a flap of wood to hold the cross spar. The spar is set into the notch in the spine and then tied into place using hemp line. The spine is set so the skin of the bamboo is placed down and rests against the paper skin of the kite. The crossbar is arranged so the skin of the bamboo faces downward toward the tail of the kite. When tying the string around the spar and the spine, the wrapping must be very tight. The string goes diagonally across the intersection 2 times, under the spine, and then diagonally across the intersection again. After several ties, making sure the union is very tight, the line is tied off and cut. To set the exact bow in the spar, a measuring stick is used that has pegs set for the exact Hata size. For the first bend on the spar, the bottom of the kite is set at the bottom peg and then the spar placed behind the appropriate peg to create the bend. The line is then tied onto the spar and pulled tight to the bottom of the spine, wrapped 3 times and tied in a notch in the spine. The spine is set on the other side and the other end of the spar placed at the appropriate peg to set the bend. The string is wrapped from the bottom over the top 3 times and locked with a half-hitch knot. This creates the bow and bottom 2 edges of the kite. Next, the line is spiral wrapped 3 times around the spar so it comes in about 1.5 inches from the end of the spar. From this point, the string goes to the head of the spine and is set in a notch at the top of the spine, then down to a point on the opposite side of the spar 1.5 inches from the end. The line is tied off by wrapping it 5 times and knotting the line. A spiral wrap is made continuing the string to the tip of the spar. There it is wrapped around the end 3 times tightly and tied off with a half hitch. This completes forming the outer edge of the kite with the string. Care is taken to be sure that the spine is centered. The outer edges of the kite are now completed. This creates the skeleton or bones of the kite, and it is now ready for the skin. Traditional Hata kites are always fashioned from red, white, and blue colors, the colors of the Dutch sailing flags from when the first vessels landed in Nagasaki over 400 years ago. There are over 200 patterns that are traditionally used for the designs. For example, a white Hata kite with one red circle on one side of the kite is the symbol for a dragon winking. These symbols are very strong graphics that work well on the kites when they are flying. The designs on the kites are made by gluing colored paper together in the form of paper applique. The paper used for the kites is washi paper, a stiff paper made in Japan for kites and art. To create the red and blue colored paper, Mr. Kawata paints the paper with red and blue. The colors of blue and red may vary somewhat with the individual kite maker, and Mr. Kawata makes his own shades from commercially available dyes. The dyed colored pieces of paper are glued together to create the patterns and shapes. The glue is a combination of paper paste and wood glue, with the proportions set at about 9:1 so the glue doesn't discolor the paper. Mr. Kawata applies the glue to the edges of the paper using a ruler to limit the glue surface to the outer 3/16 of an inch edge. He applies the glue evenly and thoroughly along the edge. The 2 pieces of paper are carefully put together and turned over. He applies pressure along the glued edge to be sure the seam is perfectly tight and flat. Once the entire skin is assembled, it is glued to the spine of the kite along the shiny side of the bamboo, or skin side of the bamboo. The glue is applied along the spine with even motions. The kite bones are laid on the skin and the kite flipped over. Pressure is applied along the skin to seal the bones to the skin. Excess paper is trimmed along the edges of the kite using a ruler, allowing for about 3/8 of an inch overlap along the top edges and 3/4 of an inch along the bottom edges. Special notches are cut at the ends of the spine and spar to allow for the folding of the paper. Once the paper is cut exactly, a crease is made using a bamboo tool, which helps for folding the paper. The crease is made just inside the string so that when the paper is folded, the skin will be stretched tightly across the kite. Glue is applied along the outer edge. The edge is folded and pressed over the string, and pressure is applied. Where the paper goes over the bamboo, it is carefully folded over and glued down. The bamboo creasing tool is used to make a crease along the fold over the string, and this is done for all four sides of the kite. The kite is now ready for one final detail. Tassels are made for the proper size Hata kite, and Mr. Kawata keeps boxes of different size tassels on hand for kite making. He says he makes the tassels while watching TV at night. Tassels are attached to the ends of the spar by slipping the string under the end of the spar and tying them to the junction of the spar and the string on the kite. Once the tassels are tied onto the kite is ready to fly. Mr. Kawata hangs the kites on wires along the ceiling of his studio for storage. Hata kites are made of several different sizes. The standard sizes may be 20, which is 80 centimeters tall, 24, which is 88 centimeters tall, or other sizes, and are based on the measurement of old coins from an earlier period of history. We drove to the ocean side of Nagasaki with Mr. and Mrs. Kawata to test fly our kites. We went to an open park where other kite flyers were flying Hata kites. The bridle on the Hata kite is very long. It is approximately 8 times the length of the kite. The bridle is attached to the flying line at the toe point. The toe point is set along the bridle line by measuring the upper bridle line from the attachment point at the intersection of the spar and spine down to the tail of the kite. This point is marked on the line or held. The lower bridle line attached to the tail of the kite is measured to a point 1/3 of the distance between the intersection of the spar and the top of the kite. While holding these 2 points together, the rest of the line is pulled to an end point and the toe point is set. The flying line is colored using a type of persimmon juice to size and stiffen the flying line. For actual Hata kite fighting, powdered glass is applied to the last 80 feet of the line using glue. The flying line is kept loosely in a basket that flyers keep on the ground or attached to their waist with a belt. The Hata kite is unstable when there isn't any pressure on the kite line. Once the kite is pulled against the wind, a dihedral is created by bending the spar and spine so the kite flies in the direction the nose is pointed. Using a combination of pulling and letting go, the kite is directed and flown where desired. Often the Hata kite is not used in actual fighting with glass lines, but in skills competitions where bamboo hooked barbs are placed on the line and used to puncture helium-filled balloons. For the celebration of the 400-year anniversary of the Dutch arrival in Nagasaki, Mr. Kawata created a display of over 130 different designs of Hata kites.